So here we go. Today we got my man, Mr. Noel Hightower, joining me. I'm pretty excited about this one, Noel. Not because I know you, but because I see the work, and I think everybody else needs to know the work and see the work. But we're gonna start out like anyone else. Like I don't know your story. Tell everyone where you're from, where did you grow up, about your family. Give us a little background on Mr. Noel Hightower.
So here we go. Where I'm from, Eastern PA, born and raised. Commonly used phrase for people who are born and raised Eastern, we are Estonians. I'm proudly to say I'm an Estonian. Um, Grew up, kind of started on South Side, and then transitioned over to Palmer Township after that. My family background is fairly unique. So my mother is from Dominican Republic. She moved to America when she was 12. And then my father, he's from New York, and then he moved to New Jersey. Um, Ironically, the Houston family went to University of Delaware where he was in graduate school, kind of recruited him to come to Easton and join the Easton community. He stayed with them for a short period of time, and then he kind of found his way, he found his roots in Easton. And then my family as well, one of six, all super impressive people in my family. I could make an argument that I'm on the bottom tier of impressive people in my family. My oldest brother, David, ran track in college. We're at Rider University, four-time conference champion, the 110 and 400 hurdles. Coached at Yale, coached at Loyola, Maryland. He also coached, and was currently at Air Force. My oldest sister, extremely successful. I went to Temple for undergrad, went to UMBC for a graduate degree. Shout out to my sister Jazz. She gets married at the end of the month. So that's a pretty exciting time in my family. The first of my siblings to be married. Then I have an older brother, Corey. He lives out on a naval base in Japan. He ran track at Villanova. Took second in the Big East in the 400 hurdles. Had a great career there, and now he's enjoying his life on a naval base. Then my little sister, man. She's 16 now, Layla. Probably the smartest of the bunch to easily say. She currently she skipped fifth grade when she was younger, and now she's currently a junior in high school with my mother, and she takes classes at MIT as well. She's taking a computer coding class at MIT right now, and she told me that the school she wants to go to is MIT because it's the only time she's ever been challenged in school. And then I got a little brother, Miles. A lot of people probably have seen a lot on social media, working out with me, doing push-ups, and he's just trying to find his way in middle school. So it's like I'm just one of the success stories in my family. Everyone's really impressive. Just trying to keep up out here, man.
Yeah, that's impressive. Sister at MIT at such a young age. Everybody's out there grinding. Like I said, I see your work.
Hmm.
You don't see any of theirs, but it's great to see like you're being surrounded by so much greatness. And
Sure.
that literally takes me into my first question of you had so much support with your siblings growing up. What was it that made you want to pick up a basketball, which is,
Wow.
your expertise now?
Um, so if I were to go back, like way back, it was my dad would play basketball on Saturday mornings, like all over. He'd go to Sand Island in Bethlehem, PA. He would go to Hanover Township Community Center in Bethlehem, PA. He'd go to LeBar Park. He'd go to Fairview Park. He'd go to Forks Park, which are all in Easton. And he'd bring myself and my siblings with him. Um, and we would kind of like shoot on the side and X, Y, and Z. And then my favorite park to go to was Sand Island. We had a good little crew of kids that would always come. I don't know. Pat Donnelly played baseball at Lehigh. Phenomenal
Hmm.
person. He would be there. Um, Jared Carnes, he's the head coach at Liberty Women's Basketball. He would be there, and it'd be like a bunch of us. And the adults would play on the two main courts on the sides, and the kids would play in the two dumpsters in the middle. So it'd be like 3-on-3 games going back and forth, and make like we would make our own like 3-point line, and it was just so much fun. And it was just like just always brought the joy out of it. And I always just loved playing with them. And then like as I got older, I kind of just grew into the game. When I was younger, I probably say my best sport was football, and then it transitioned like on the border of football and track and field. When I was younger, I was a pretty good track athlete. I was rated like top 50, like on the East Coast in the 100-meter dash when I was younger. And then like as I got older, I just kind of just kept loving basketball more and more. And I started gravitating to it, and I took it more and more seriously. And that's kind of like how the story of basketball came into my life.
Yeah. So yeah, you talked about a couple other sports. Basketball became your sport, but you were great in track and field. You were great in football. But what was that? What was it about those sports that didn't allow them to kind of take over for you?
Um, Basketball is just fun every day. Um, and like I can say that because I see other sports teams and other athletes, like when they get time, like they play basketball together, just for fun. Like I've seen wrestlers just go out and hoop, like just they just want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Football players love that. That's probably the number one sport. Like they love basketball. I've seen like when I was in college, like I see the tennis team play like pickup basketball, and it was just like it's just so much fun every day. Even like you have your good days, you have your bad days, but the bad days aren't that bad. I'm always excited to get in the gym and get better, and games always been fun for me.
That's what's up. So now let's kind of backtrack even more a little bit. Like as
Yeah.
you're growing up and you're still playing all these sports, what type of is there a sibling rivalry? You just said you're one of six. Is there sibling
Right.
rivalries? Is it looking at your older brother like, man, he's doing this in track, I got to do this, or anything like that that's really pushing it? I mean, you talked about the fun, but there's still that competitive aspect. And
So
I got siblings too that you know.
the end of the my older brother David is like he's my top role model. Like I've always looked up to him. We're 3 years apart. He was a senior, and like everything he did, I wanted to be like him. But the only thing we kind of did differently was like he went down the football and track and field path, and I went down the basketball and track and field path. But it was just like we were always naturally competitive, and it was just like we all. But as we were competitive in the house, like when we stepped outside the house, we were ultra supportive of each other. So it's like okay, well like it might be a day where like I have an off game, and hey like let's go get shots up, or like he has an off day when in his sport. I'm like hey like let's take this 20 minutes and do a little extra core workout so like your core is a little better for the 110 race, and we would do that for each other back and forth so that we could just see each other win. You know what I mean? That was the ultimate goal. It was like I've always wanted to be like him. So even like growing up, so the couple prime examples was when I was a freshman in high school. He was a senior. He won essentially like in Easton like the equivalent of like prom king. And I was like, man, I
Mm-hmm.
want to do the same thing. So like I was a freshman, and then when I was a senior, like I ended up winning the award. I was like, all right, that's cool. And then when I was a freshman and he was a senior, he was president of his class, and I was like, I'm about to do the same thing. So then my senior year, I ran for student council, and I became vice president of my class. Well, he started as vice president, and then he got bumped up to president. So I was like, he's vice president, like I'm gonna do the same thing. So you kind of like laid down the foundation, the groundwork of just like excelling. And I just kind of followed his path and followed his lead, and it worked for me.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So as you're getting older, basketball is becoming more of your thing. How old were you when you decided that it was going to be basketball and track and not all three with football?
So I dropped football. I know I didn't love football. It was just like I played it just because my friends played.
Hmm.
I stopped playing football in the middle school. Eighth grade I stopped playing, and then it was just like basketball and track. And then ninth grade was when it was like I want to play college basketball. Like that's what I want to do at the next level. Um, and I just really locked into it. And Touchdown for college took a risk on. Like I had a really good high school career. Like I had great teammates. That's kind of where it starts. It's a team sport. I had phenomenal teammates. Had phenomenal coaches. And I got the opportunity to play at the next level, which was awesome.
Yeah. So when you have that dream of playing at the next level, what schools start reaching out to you? And how many were there? Was the phone ringing off the hook? Were you getting a ton of letters? What
Right.
was it like?
So um, I would say like I was in a very unique situation where it was like I wasn't. I probably like you are where you get recruited to go. So it was like I wasn't a Division I player, and Division II schools and Division III schools found that out. Then it was like I feel like I was so heavily recruited by Division II and Division III schools. It was almost like overwhelming. Um, and it was just like so many calls, so many texts, so many letters. Um, took a very limited number of visits, but it was like everything else, like so many points of contact. And it was such a unique period because I was equally as recruited for track and field as I was for basketball. So like I would get calls. Let's say I would get a call from Glenn and Mercy. The basketball coach would call me, and then like the next day, I just talked to him. I'm like I didn't talk to him. This is now the track coach calling me. So then I would take the track coach's call, and then I would talk to him as well. But it was just like yeah, I think I was pretty heavily recruited. It was like a lot of contact, a lot of touch points, and it was just like I was I was young and at an age where I was like scared to disappoint anybody. Like I didn't want to tell anybody no. So then it was like, instead of me being like, I'm not really interested in these schools, I would kind of string people along. And if I could go back in the process and change something, I would just tell them like, hey, I'm more focused on these 10 schools or on these 12 schools. Like, I think you're a great program, and I'm more focused on these 12 schools. But I didn't do that. And then it was just like more and more calls just kept coming.
Yeah. So, with that, how did you balance that process? I mean, you already said you don't really feel like you did well because you just kept stringing people along. How was it trying to manage school, coaches with two sports, and just, I mean, being a teenager is tough in itself as well.
Right.
So, how did you manage all of it?
Right. So my number one priority, a lot of people don't know this. So my parents were co-parenting, and a lot of the time, my junior and senior of high school, I spent with my mom. For the sheer fact that like I really helped raise my youngest sister Layla when she was in like between like pre-K, kindergarten, first grade in Easton. It was like to the point where like I'm waking up every day as a high school student, junior and senior. I'm waking up every day, getting her dressed, make sure she eats, taking her to daycare, finishing school, picking her up from daycare, and then we're coming back home. We're doing like some reading the homework that she has that probably took like 10 minutes, and then like I had to do my homework on top of that. But it was just like just kind of understanding like what the bigger picture is at the end of the day. So it was like, okay, well, like I'm gonna prioritize like she's the top priority. I gotta make sure she's okay. And then like I prioritize myself where it's like, okay, well, like what goals do I have? Okay, well, like I want to be a good student, so let me get my homework first. And I was like, all right, I want to be a really good athlete. I was like, all right, I have to work out second. And then after that, it's just like kind of like tiering things, just putting them all in order and kind of sticking to it. And then just at the end of the day, it's like no matter what you do, to me, you have to have fun with it. So it's like you have to find the joy in whatever you're doing. Not everything's always fun. Like running sprints isn't a ton of fun, but like you got to find the joy in it somehow. Like make it a game, make it a joy for yourself, and then like things will just go a lot smoother, and you have a better time. Well, I had a better time doing things. I just found the joy in things.
Yeah. Now you touched on it a little bit. You wanted to be a good student, and academics is a big thing,
Right.
especially when these college coaches are calling. They don't want someone that isn't as into the books, right? You really
Correct.
gotta do your thing because and mind you, it helps with you as a student being a good student athlete, heavy on the student part, because then that's scholarship money and that's more money and more attention. And
100%.
the coach is like, I don't have to worry about this guy, right? So for you, what was it that made you want to be such a good student, and was it tough to stay focused on those things as you got older and had more responsibility?
Um, I would say I had like my parents and my siblings helped me build a really good foundation in school. So I picked up school and learning fairly easily and quickly. But my dad has his master's degree in physical education and administration. Um, my mother never went to college, and to be totally honest, like she doesn't play around with academics. Like it's no joke. My mother came from Dominican Republic, kind of worked from the ground up, just grinded her whole life, and she was just, I don't want you guys to live this lifestyle. And she was like, education is the key to get out. So if it was ever an issue, if there was ever an issue in school or I wasn't performing to the best of my ability, she would be sure to hold me accountable. And she was a great mother. I was never scared of her, but I knew like I need to get the schoolwork done because it's not a game. And one stigma I want to kind of get out the way that I kind of had for a little bit, but it's totally false. That is that as an athlete, like school doesn't matter. Like there are a lot of high school, college athletes who think like, oh, like I'm a football, basketball, baseball, track, tennis, soccer, whatever sport you, especially around here, field hockey. I'm a star in my sport, so like I don't have to be as good of a student. Like that's false. That's a false narrative. Um, because when you go to college, it gets even more intense. So like if you're not equipped with the skills that you need to go to college with, you're gonna really struggle at the college level because everything is at a really elite level. So it's like you have to lock in. And then just education for me is super important. Um, I got my undergrad in Chestnut Hill in business administration, and then I got my master's from Lehigh in educational leadership. So education has always just been been a part of me, honestly.
Hmm. So when you get through all the recruiting, you finally, get the courage to tell some of these coaches no because you're going to Chestnut Hill.
Right.
What's it like that first day you step on campus as a college basketball player?
Man, let me tell you, it was like it's like eye opening. You walk in there and like everyone's like a little stronger. Like so like in height, like everyone's a little stronger, a little faster, a little more athletic. The game's a little quicker. The and defensive schemes are a little more complicated. And it's just like a learning curve, like boom, like and it happens all at once. And I was like, wow, like this is what college is like. Like this is what college is. This is what everyone's telling me about. Like when you get there, like first day, I'm sure every school pretty much does it. First day you get on campus, like all the basketball guys, you kind of get together and you play pickup. Like you all play together and kind of see where like everybody's at. Like it's a little gauge to see where everyone's at. And I'm like, man, these guys are nice. Like these guys can play. Um, Now I was like, okay, I have to get it together. And it was myself. So had the same 4 roommates for 4 years in college. Myself, Doherty, Dexter Harris, and Adrian Adams. And Adrian was a track athlete. Myself, Sean, and Dex were all on the basketball team. And I was like, man, like we kind of hey, listen, like we're kind of in this together. Like let's try and all play together at the same time. So then it was like everyone knew that like my biggest weakness was like my strength. So like every night we would get a deck of cards. The four of us every night we get a deck of cards and we just flip cards, push ups, flip cards, push ups, and then we're done with push ups. Like 2 months later, Sean Doc got a pull up bar. We flip cards, flip cards and pull ups, and it was just like as that happened and that progressed, like I got better. Like at practice I got better. Um, my wildest story in college that was like welcome to college moment. Like everyone has one. Like your welcome to college moment. So it's like had my first college scrimmage. I'm super excited, and I'm like, all right, like I can't wait to go in the game. Like I'm like really ready to go. And it was like I got there, warmed up, I was feeling nice, warm ups, and then the scrimmage started. It's going up and down, up and down, up and down. And I'm like, all right, like I'm not a starter. I'm like eighth, ninth man, I think. In my head, like I'm eighth, ninth man. Clearly, I was delusional, to be honest. I was not there. And I was like, all right, I'm eighth, ninth man. And then the eighth man went in. The eighth man went and played. Sat back down on the bench, went back in the scrimmage and played. And I haven't gotten one rotation run yet. And I was on the bench like, oh my. Like I was still on the bench being a good teammate, but in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm not where I thought I was. So after that, like I told myself, I was like, this is not what my college career is gonna turn out to. Like I came here to play. I came here to play, I came here to win. So then I started grinding. And it was like slowly but surely, like I was like 12, 11, and I was like 10, and I was like 9. I was like, oh, I'm in the top 8. Now I'm getting some quality minutes as a freshman. I got like a freshman of the week a couple times, and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get quality minutes as a freshman. And then by the 10th game my freshman year, I was a starter. And I started the rest of my career. Like I got my spot and never gave it back. And I was a starter the rest of my career. But it was like that one like moment where I got shook up. I was like, oh my gosh, like I kind of froze. And I was like, okay, like time to log back in and get back to work. And I called my brother, my older brother David. I was like, David, like I'm 12th man. He was like, so what? Like it's a long season. You better lock in and become top 5 so you can get on the floor. And that's literally what I did.
Yeah. Now, what was, you're sitting there on the bench as all these things are happening, and you have that light bulb go off. Like I'm not where I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? What's the thoughts after the game? What's the action after the game that you take to never have that feeling and that thought again?
So first is like during the game, like you have to almost suppress that feeling, because like the first thing is like because we ended up winning the scrimmage. You have to be a good teammate. So I was clapping, I was up, I was supportive, I was giving guys high fives. I was happy for my team because we won. So like that's like the initial, and then after the game, it's like, okay, well like wait till I get in private, and then I can really reflect. Because then we had the bus ride back, and I got in my room and I was like really reflecting, like, man, like I have to get it together. And it was just like it's one of those things where it's like the natural reaction. You fight or you flight. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to fight for this. Like, this is what I wanted. I'm about to fight for this. And that was my biggest thing. I was like, okay, well, like, do a little more. Like, do the things that everyone else doesn't really want to do. Like at the beginning, like on day one, what you said you wanted to do, like keep doing that all the way through the season, and it will pay off. And then I just kept doing it, and stuck to the plan and stuck to the path, and it all paid off for me.
Yeah. Did you you said that your same roommates throughout college, did you go talk to them and did you say anything to them like, listen, I got to get on the floor, and y'all gotta start winning. You want to start winning.
Right.
Your roommate that's running track, you want to be faster. You want to do like,
Mm-hmm.
let's put in the work. Was it one of those things?
Yeah, because it was kind of like we all three of us came back and we were like, yo, what's up? Like what's going on here? And the crazy part, out of the three of us, I was a walk-on. The other two had scholarship money, like athletic scholarship. So it was like I was a walk-on. The other two had athletic scholarship money. We were like, hey, like we want to have a larger direct role on game day. Like practice is cool and like being involved in practice and having our own practice, but like we want to be impact players. Like we just came from high school and we know how fast those 4 years went. So it's like let's turn the leaf and try and make an impact sooner than later here at Chestnut Hill. And we were all kind of on the same page about it. And we were just like, let's kind of do it together. So then it was like, okay, like extra shots, extra lifting, doing the push-ups together. Like, and we kind of just made a pact to each other. Like, hey, listen, like hold each other accountable. I think the accountability was the biggest thing. And it wasn't just like on the court. We used to call the library Club Lit. Cause we'd be like, yo, what you doing tonight? Going to Club Lit? And we'd be like, yo, what is Club Lit? Like the library, like we all go together, we study and we get our work done, and then we come back, we come back and get a late night meal, we go to bed, and then people are like, oh, like I'm gonna come to Club Lit with you guys, like, yo, come on, we going to Club Lit, and then it was like we always held each other accountable, and it was like when like one of us was slacking, it was just like kind of just like check each other.
Yeah. I mean, you're taking my questions away because I was going to ask what, about the academic side of things
Mm-hmm.
and see, how were you balancing that side? Because obviously you were a good student in high school.
Right.
And I mean, let's face it, high school's not as hard as you got a sister that's 16 at MIT. High school isn't much of a challenge, right?
No.
And especially when you're grinding like you are, high school's not really that big of a challenge. So when you get to college, do you start to get challenged? And is it one of those things where you're like, all right, we really got to start putting in the work?
So this is what happened. So this is the truth, because you're my guy. I'll give you this exclusive information about my story. So this is a true story. So I went to college, and I was green behind the ears, to say the least. I thought it was like, hey, like once you get to college and you're a college athlete, like you don't really have to go to class. Like they kind of help you out. And I wasn't really going. I had one class. It was like 8 a.m. class. I wasn't going because I was like, hey, like on the phone, they called me to come play basketball here. So I was like, I'm gonna get in the gym. Progress reports came out. My grades were not where they wanted to be in the first 6 weeks of the semester. Nothing was where it was supposed to be at. The exact number we're not going to discuss here, but it was not where it was supposed to be at. My coach called me in. He talked to me for a little bit, and my coach Boucher was like, all right, I have to contact your parents, like your father. I'm like, okay. He said, your mother. And my mom would literally, I'm not sure if you've seen it. I think it's the movie Glory Road, where the mom literally drove down to Texas Western or to Texas to take her son to class and make sure he participated in class. My mother would do the same thing. And I was like, Coach, give me like 5 weeks. And I was like, I guarantee you, I'll be in great academic standing. He was like, all right, you got 5 weeks. And in those 5 weeks, I turned it around. I finished the semester with over a 3.0 GPA. And he was like, what happened? Like, what really made you lock in? I said, Coach, listen, like, when my mother brought me to college, she told me, like, school is first. Like, always remember, school is first. And she said, if you need help, I will come and help you. And I was just like, I don't need her to come down here and come to class, because she will do it.
Yeah. I know what movie you're talking about. And the mom is sitting there and the teacher asks a question and I can't remember what the kid's name is, but she's like, he knows.
Yeah, he knows the answer. I
Yeah,
said, man,
I've
I
seen
was
that.
like, that was gonna be me, and I was like, man, that can't be me. So I just made sure I locked in and got it done.
Yeah, that's what's up, and that's that's what it needs to be. Like
For
you
sure.
said, academically, you're there to get it done,
Hmm.
and you have other siblings. One who was your role model, and you're definitely trying to keep up with, and then you
Right.
have younger siblings who you took care of. So you're trying to be a role model. Does your family know this story now, or will they find out when they watch this?
No, so my family knows this story. Uh, my mother found out. So like my everyone kind of found out first. My mom found out last. I told her like after the semester was over, I think I finished with like a 3.2 for my freshman year. And I told her after, and she was like, "Why didn't you call me?" I was like, "Cause you would have came to school." And she's like, "You're exactly right. I would have came to the school." She's like, "This is why I didn't tell you till now." I was like, "I had it under control." She's like, "Did you really have it under control?" I was like, "Mom, clearly I got a 3.2. I had it under control." So now we kind of laugh about it, but in the moment, she looked at me like, "You were struggling, huh?" I was like, "A little bit."
And that's great. That's great. So as your career continues, you're a starter now. Now you're role model on the team. You're a leader on the team,
Right.
and you're a leader in the classroom. The accountability thing seems to be the most prevalent thing from high school with your brother,
Hmm.
and with bringing up your little sister, to once you get to college and your roommates. It's all about accountability.
For
How
sure.
do you, as a starter and as a leader, start to pass these things on to the freshmen that are coming in, who think that they don't have to go to 8 a.m. class?
Right. Right. So it was like for myself when I came into my sophomore year, it was like, okay, well, like sophomore year, I'm like emerging on the team as one of the key guys, and I was like, this is gonna be my year where like I know our system, I know our schemes, I have my feet underneath me, I'm gonna be able to really focus on myself, and that wasn't really the case. So came in sophomore year, and my teammate voted me as a captain. Well, first my coach elected me a captain. I was like, Coach, I don't want to be a captain. He was like, okay, we'll have a team vote. If your teammates vote you as a captain, you're gonna be a captain. I said, all right, cool. And I was confident, like, no way they're gonna vote me as a captain. I was just a walk on
He
last year.
sent those text messages. He sent
Right.
those text messages telling the team to vote you up.
Probably. And then like the tallies came back and everybody voted for me but myself. It was like everyone but one vote. And the one vote was me. I didn't vote for myself. So he was like, hey, like the guy spoke. So now like you're up next, you're a leader. And like um my teammates, my sophomore, junior, and especially my senior the most, they would call me like Noel Obama. And I'd be like, guys, stop calling me that. But it was like a joke because they were like, that's the way in which you carry yourself. That's the way in which you are. You're like Noel Obama. And I would like we'd always laugh about it. And it was like the running joke on the team. So in terms of like leadership, like it just had to come naturally. So then my junior year, we kind of moved off campus. So it would be like we always come back a little earlier. And then the freshmen had to be there for like orientation. And we bring the freshmen over. We'd bring them over. I literally just make them dinner and kind of tell them like what it was and what the culture is and kind of what we're all about. Well, first I'll work them out and like I would try and I'll try and give them a good workout. I'll try and kill them. You know what I mean? Like boom,
You
like
try and break them.
yeah, they get the little shot. And it's like I was working all summer and I know what it is already. So myself and the other upperclassmen like, yo, like we're going to run hills. Come on. And then like they they get done running hills and they're like laying on the ground in the upperclassmen. I look at them like, yo, get up. Like, come on. You got a couple more to go. And then after that, like you kind of give them the tough love and then bring them over. Mom is Dominican. So she taught me how to cook. So I bring over, we make rice and chicken, some veggies, and just take care of them that way and just show them some love. And hey, fellas, like, listen, like the coaching way in which we do it here is like, make sure you get stuff done in the classroom. And at practice, like we all play hard, we all work hard. Like it's all one common goal. Like it's gonna get competitive, it's gonna be heated. But at the end of the day, like we're all here to get better. We're all here to get degrees. So if you ever need help with anything, like call one of us. Like if you can't call coach, call us. And like we got you.
That's cool. So as your career goes on, would you say you had the college basketball career, or at least the student athlete career that you wanted?
For the most part, yes. Because it was just like it's always been basketball, and then like, okay, well, like, how else am I impacting? So it was like I want to say my junior year, I became the vice president of the student athlete advisory committee. And that was a great experience, like another leadership role that I enjoyed. Like to me, it was just like communication, relationships, and talking to people, and I didn't really see it as anything more than that. But it was just like, again, like being held accountable. Like it's 7:30 on a Thursday night, and it's like just finish practice from 5 to 7. I'd eat quick and go to the student council meeting. I mean the SAC meeting at 7:30. But it's like something I had to do. You know what I mean? And I enjoyed it. So it was like everything pretty much went the way I liked. Like I would have liked. I had a great experience there. I think going Division II to Chestnut was the perfect fit for me. But everybody wants to win a championship. You know what I mean? Like, so like you walk in the door and you're like, I'm winning a championship. Like you walk in the door and people are like, I'm like, people go wrestle and they're like, I'm going to be a national champion. In the door and I'm like, when I come here, like I'm here to win. I'm here to win a championship. So if anything were to change, like I love my teammates, love my coaches, love the school, just get a championship. You know what I mean? Because off the floor I had other experiences where it was like went to the student athlete for the NCAA. I was selected to go to the leadership forum in Orlando, Florida, and that was an incredible experience. It was 300 of the, I guess, most elite student athlete leaders in the country, Division I, Division II, Division III. And I met some incredible people who I'm still friends with to this day from that event. My friend, shout out to my man, Barnett Harris. He just finished law school at Georgetown, at University of Delaware. He just finished law school at Georgetown Law. And I'm like, man, that's incredible. You know what I mean? Like, and I could go on and on with a list of people I met there who are doing amazing things. But he's just one of the many. And then that was such a great opportunity for me to have. Well, while being an undergrad, to be exposed to, I guess, like, that level of success. Like it was like so much greatness in one area. It was like, wow, like there's such a powerful room of people.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of athletes and a lot more athletes, I think nowadays, because of social media and how things look and stuff like that, they always think it's a D1 or bust kind of a thing. Um, did you ever have that type of mindset when you were coming up as a student
Oh,
athlete? Because you just said D2 was, perfect for you. Did you have
correct.
that kind of a mindset?
Yes, I did. Yes, some of us definitely did. I'll never forget. I was in middle school and somebody was like, oh, you gonna play in college? Like, yeah. I was like, I'm either going D1 or nothing. And it was probably one of the most ignorant things I've ever said in my life. I was just like, back when I was like, that was so ignorant to say. Like, I had no idea what it was like. And there have been multiple situations where like I'm playing with guys who play D1, D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA, haven't played in college, pros, semi-pro, like fringe NBA guys like playing pickup. And like I've had situations where I'm out there, I'm like, yo, the best guy on the court right now is a Division III player. The best guy on the court right now has never played in college. And I'm like, this is like unreal. Where I'm like, and then like that was in high school, and I was just like, I might have a skewed perception of college basketball. And then I kept playing more and more, and like, so like a prime example, his name is Darnell Bradswell. He's from Allentown. Went to DeSales, won a championship there. He was an All-American at DeSales, and a lot of times when that guy walks on the floor, he can be in pro amps with pros around him. He was the best player on the floor. Kind of when I was growing up. A lot of times he was the best player on the floor, like complete game. And I was like, he's a Division III player. And I was like, I need to reevaluate like how I see these different levels. Because clearly, like of course, like Division I's the best, Division II, Division III, but like nobody, like if you go out there with the fearless mentality, like anyone can be the best player on the floor any day, any given day.
Mm-hmm. So once you get to that mindset of D2 is where it's going to be at for me. What's the plan past college? Because obviously you're hitting the books. Academics are a big thing.
Yeah.
You're putting in the time on the floor, off the floor, all the different clubs. You're just racking up accolades. The resume is a mile long at this point as a college grad. Did you think I'm going to the league, or did you think I'm getting into coaching, which is what you're doing now?
So never thought I was going to like I hit probably my junior year, and I was like, okay, well, like I need to start setting a path for me to be a professional, like beyond basketball. And got an internship in business. Didn't love it. Um, did it? I liked it, just didn't love it. It wasn't like a passion of mine. And then what happened was I had some interest from like some lower level professional stuff in England, but it was like nothing tangible yet. A lot of conversations back and forth, emails back and forth, a couple phone calls, but nothing tangible. I graduated, and within 2 weeks of graduation, I got a call from uh, Brett Reed. Now, Brett and I had a past relationship where I would work camp every summer for Lehigh. I'd work for 2 weeks, and I really only work camp because when you come home from college, it's like, okay, well, like I need some money. I want to work out with the best guys in the area. And between there and Lafayette, it was probably the top guys in the area, like the top pickup runs and workouts. And I was like, I'm just coaching basketball all day. Like this is easy for me. I'm just dealing with people. So it was like, okay, well, I had that foundation with Coach Reed, and then he called me 2 weeks after I graduated. There was an open spot on his staff. He asked me if I'd be interested, and he proposed to me. He said, come in and interview for the director of basketball operations position, and there could be an opportunity for you to go to graduate school as well. I said, okay, great. We kind of got off the phone, and I thought to myself, I was like, I just finished school. I was like, I kind of want to take a gap year, and I'm not going to take classes. So came on Lehigh's campus. I interviewed. It was a great interview. He and I had a great connection. Met the staff. They were phenomenal. At that time, the staff was Coach Reed was the head coach, and Tony White was the associate head coach. Harry Moore was an assistant, and Kyle Griffin was an assistant. All great people. We had a great connection. Boom, I got the job. Awesome job. And then I think a couple weeks after I got there, they hired Mike McCready as the video coordinator. Great staff, phenomenal team. I loved it. And in the summertime, like my direct role was to run basketball, like youth camp. Did that, had a great experience with it. And then Coach Reed was like, hey, he sat me down probably like mid-July. He was like, hey, there's there's a master's program I wanted you to apply for. I said, Coach, I appreciate that. But he said, you qualify with your GPA coming out of undergrad. Would you like to apply for it? He's like, it'd be paid for by Lehigh. I said, Coach, I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm just really focused on trying to be a good coach, trying to be a good ops guy. He's like, how about this? I'll make you a deal. I said, okay. He was like, gave me a waiver to waive the application fee. And then he said, if you apply and you get in, you go. If you apply, you don't get in, you don't go. And one thing my parents have always instilled, like, it would never like to be number one, never be first, but it's always like, whatever you do it to the best of your ability. Like, no matter what you do it. If you want to do it or not, do it to the best of your ability. I really didn't want to fill that application, but when I started doing it, I kind of got competitive, and I did it to the best of my ability. I ended up getting into grad school. The letter came back, and he's like 2 weeks later, he's like, hey, like, have you heard back from graduate school? I was like, Coach, I got in. He was like, awesome. So I guess you'll be going to class in the fall. And I said, yes, I'll be going to class in the fall. So it was just like having great people around me who kind of have like a forward thinking, like could, I guess, like see my potential, and really believed in me, that allowed me to grow to success. Because honestly, I firmly believe it takes a village. It takes a huge village to have anyone be successful.
Yeah. So how does your coaching career kind of take off from there? You start as director of ops, but then it grows, right? How do these new opportunities start to come?
So started as director of ops, but it was like things I didn't realize in the moment. But now that I'm older, looking back, like things happen quickly. They're still happening quickly, to be honest. As I see the coaching world as from a different scope and talking to people that have been in the coaching world for so long, I started as director of basketball operations. Kyle Griffin ended up leaving our staff. We brought in a Lehigh alum whose name is Austin Roll, phenomenal player, incredible person, even better player, phenomenal family. And Austin just came over from playing overseas in Europe, I think for 10 years, 11 years. He coached at Lehigh for 1 year. Austin left and went to go back and play in Austria and like be like a player coach in Austria, where his wife was from. So he'd be close to her family. So then that assistant spot opened up on our staff. And Coach asked me if I'd be interested. I said yes, 100%. So then like the phone interviews happen, and then I get through that round. Then it's like, okay, time for on campus. And then and after he offered me an on-campus interview. And the day after he offered me an on-campus interview, I went to his office like, Coach, I'm definitely coming. I was like, Coach, I want you to do what's best for the program. I'm definitely coming back as the director of basketball operations next year. But if I get this job, I'd love to be an assistant on your staff, but I want you to do what is best for the program. And he said, thank you. I really appreciate that. Like, it means a lot. And it just shows that, like, you're putting the program first. And I think I had a pretty good interview with him and with people in the Lehigh basketball and Lehigh athletic community, and on Lehigh's campus as well. And I think what really put me over the top, I found this out last year. Every player vouched for me to get the job. Every player vouched for me, and every assistant vouched for me to get the job. So then, like, once I got the nod for that, like, I think, like, them working, like, being a voice for me that I didn't even know was happening. Them being a voice for me, supporting me to get that bump into the third assistant role was incredible. So that was, boom, step one. And then step two was like, I was the third assistant for 2 years, and then our associate head coach left and went to a different school. And Tony West left and went to a different school, and then boom, I got bumped up to second assistant. And it was like, okay, I'm second assistant for 2 years. Then I was like, okay, well, like, I want to continue to learn, grow, and develop. And at Lehigh, I learned so much. I grew so much. I think I developed so much as a professional, as a coach, as a person. And it was great. But it was like, okay, well, like, always like striving for, like, just like a little more. You know what I mean? I was happy where I was at. I loved it. Loved the guys. Loved the university. I've been home for, and I've seen players that I've coached at Lehigh. I've actually played pickup with the entire team last Saturday. So it was like I'm still close with the guys. Some administrators I've seen since I've been home. Some people on the coach staff I've seen since I've been home. I've seen Dr. Outing, who's, I believe he is I think he's the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Rick Cole is the vice president of student affairs. I've seen Donnie Roberts, who's a former football coach at Lehigh, who's now the assistant director for student access and success. And I've seen Donald, and I've seen Dr. Odie, who's the vice deputy for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they all report directly to the president. So since I've been back, I've seen all of them. We've had great conversations. We've gone out to lunch together. It's all been great. Like, it's been phenomenal. And then it was just like, okay, well, like, continue to progress and continue to move forward. And I had an opportunity. Somebody called me about an opportunity in the NBA, and I was like, the NBA. I was like, I love it here. And they were like, what's the number one reason why you wouldn't leave? And I was like, I love my guys. Like, I feel like I can't leave my guys. And they were like, okay, five more years goes down the line, and let's say, hypothetically speaking, your dream job opens up. You're gonna take it, or you're gonna stay with? I said, I'm gonna have to take the job. They were like, you're still gonna have to leave the guys. Right. So then that opportunity arose with the Indiana Pacers, to be an assistant for on-court player development. And it was just something I feel like I couldn't pass up. It was always a dream of mine to be at the Division I level, to be at the NBA level. And I was like, in any capacity, if I could ever make it there, I would love to be a part of an NBA organization. And then I got the opportunity with the Pacers, and it's incredible. It was a phenomenal year. I have no complaints. I love Lehigh. I love college. Not saying I wouldn't, like, I would openly go back to college and coach at college again. I had a great experience, but I also would stay in the professional realm, in the NBA, the G League, overseas, and coach as well.
Yeah, I just saw you announced that you got the certification to coach. What is that, internationally, right?
Correct. So I got my certification.
Is that the next step?
It could quite possibly be. So I got my certification to coach to coach USA basketball and to coach at FIBA. That could possibly be a next step. So my mother, again, is being she's Dominican, have really strong Dominican roots, Dominican heritage. Before we got on this podcast today, I actually just got my dual citizenship done today. This is breaking news for me. No one knows this shit. You're hearing it here first. I am now a dual citizen to Dominican Republic. And my ultimate goal is to get on with their national team and be a part of their national team in any capacity. And just kind of come back and serve, be a part of that. And that's kind of like my next step, my next goal. And they have an open period in August and one in September. And I'd love to be with their team and kind of progress moving forward and develop the game in Dominican Republic. Over Easter weekend, that Saturday and Sunday, they actually had like a youth elite camp, which they invited me to participate in as a coach, and they gave me their essentially like their top U18 guys to work out, and they gave me their like college guys who came back to kind of mentor the U18 guys to work out, and it was awesome. They were like, hey, like we kind of trust what you do from your resume, and you got an hour and 20 minutes, and like fill this time and make sure these guys get a good workout and they get better in the next hour and 20 minutes. And as a young professional, kind of coming in that space, it's like, wow, it's really empowering for someone to be like not be, hey, for 10 minutes do this, 20 minutes do this, 20 minutes do this, like, hey, listen, like it's your show. Like you have to make this really good. Like you have ownership of this. And it was just great. I think I had a great experience with them, and it was great to get to meet them. The president of basketball, the president of the Dominican Basketball Federation was there. The vice president was there. The head coach of the Dominican national team was there. Some of their U18 coaching staff was there as well. So it was great to meet them. But it was just a phenomenal experience. And my ultimate goal one of my ultimate goals is to be a part of the Dominican Basketball Federation and move forward and push the game to the DR and kind of help out any. It's not to go out there and make it my brand and X, Y, and Z, but just continue to grow the game over there, because they're already doing a great job. But I would love to help and assist and also learn from them.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of branding, we see the T-shirt, the Hightower Hoops shirt.
Yes.
I know you had, what was it, a club or a camp that you were back home for, something like
Correct.
that. Talk about establishing Hightower Hoops and what it means to you to be able to come back to your hometown after being at Lehigh, Indiana, DR, and do the things that you're doing now.
So it's incredible, honestly. So Hightower Hoops, it kind of started where it was like, I have 4 goals for the year. So start a LLC, get my dual citizenship, run my own camp back home, and then write a children's book. So I got 3 to 4 out of the way right now, and running my own camp, dual citizenship, which got completed today, and started my LLC. And it was okay. Well, like I wanted to have those. It was like I started the year. I was like, okay, well, like I want to come into 2020 where it's like, okay, whatever I have in my head as a good idea, I want to put it on paper and I want to achieve it. And I've always wanted to give back to the community. Like I've always wanted to give back, but there's rules with the NCAA where it's like I can only work with kids through certain ages. So it was like very restrictive for like recruiting purposes. So then once I broke off from college, it's like, oh, well, like I have kind of like less restriction on who I can work with. So that's kind of how the Hightower Hoops all came about. And it was like, okay, well, it's a great opportunity to kind of give back to the Lehigh Valley, give back to basketball in the area. And it's done so much for me. So it's like, hey, like I'm excited to really, really get back. So the Hightower Hoops thing is my LLC, but it's essentially like what I run and then what I'll also put my book under. So like I'm currently writing a children's book called Shame, We Could Have Won the Game. And it's based upon basketball and teamwork. But essentially I would have needed an LLC to help put the book under. And it's just like, it was just something I thought of, and I was like, what's something to catch it? And I was like, Hightower. I was like, I like basketball. I was like, Hightower Hoops isn't bad. So I took it and I ran with it. But the camp again, it was great. Great young men and women that came to my camp, wanted to learn. They were very engaged, very receptive, and they really just wanted to come in there and get better, which makes coaching a ton more fun when like everyone wants to be there. So that's kind of how the camp went. The camp was great. Then my next short-term goal is to publish the book, which should be done by the latest July 1st, but most likely mid-June. It's just a children's book, just about basketball. Shame. We could have won the game, so we'll push that through next.
Man, there's all these things being checked off this bucket list, and you ain't even 30 years old yet.
Not yet. I'm not trying to rush it either. Not yet.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you this though. It's all right to get older as long as you're aging like wine and not like milk.
Hey.
That's
sure.
how I'm gonna put it to you. Every year
sure.
when I get older, I said I'm all right with getting another year older. I'll be 35 in October. I'm aging like wine and not like milk. And as long as I do that, I'm be quite all right.
For sure. Most definitely. I'm probably gonna have to steal that one. I'm going to steal that one.
It's all right. We can do that. We creative people. But the last thing I got for you,
Go ahead.
all the things you've done, you're a coach, you're a leader, you're a role model to a bunch of kids, and not just mentioning your own siblings. What's a piece of advice that you take with you, or that you try and pass down, whether you're coaching or just talking to kids or just having a conversation?
Number one thing, but you've met me and you've seen me in passing and the way I interact with other people. It's free to be nice. It's free to be nice. So kind of just being a good person at the end of the day. Like just like simple things that you would like others to do for you, like do them for others. Like if somebody's struggling with carrying their grocery bags into their house, like walk over, help them to carry grocery bags to their front doorstep, and then it'll help them out that day. Or greeting someone, saying hello. If someone has on something that you like, a nice shirt, a nice pair of earrings, a nice pair of shoes that you like. I like your shoes, I like your earrings. I like the way your hair is. And it can be anybody, like young, old. It doesn't matter. Just be nice to people, and it's like that's like the ultimate goal is that it's contagious. You know what I mean? Where like I'm nice to that person today, and then they're nice to somebody else, and then they're nice to somebody else. It just makes the world a better place. Somebody asked me like, "What is your goal?" Like on your tombstone or somewhere to write like, "What is Noel Hightower known for?" And my ultimate goal is if someone can say I was the best version of myself while Noel was around, that's it. Like, boom, that's all I need. Like that encompasses everything I've ever wanted to be about.
That's good, man. That's all I got for you. That is it. You
I
told your story.
I got some questions for you though. They're not off the hook.
Fire away. I know you said you had something.
For sure. So tell me quick, like a quick pitch. Where you competed at in high school, where you competed at in college, and where you competed at the professional level.
So I am, born and raised in Easton, Pennsylvania. Went to Wilson High School until about, I want to say, and this is actually something that a lot of people, unless you were around me, don't really know. Is I was a 3-sport athlete until my freshman year of high school. Baseball, football, wrestling. Those are my 3 sports. Obviously grew up boxing. For people that know the lineage, grew up boxing. But when I got to my freshman year,
the lineage you speak of, what is this?
Just the Larry Holmes lineage that comes through the blood. I mean, I give more props to my dad with wrestling, but the boxing in the hands, it comes from somewhere, right? I grew up in the gym.
World champ. Continue.
Grew up in the gym more than anything, but my freshman year of high school, I did not play football. I didn't. And a lot of people don't know that. I was honestly I think I was a little scared to play football. I was a little intimidated. I was young. I was a 14-year-old freshman. I started school when I was 5 years old. So I was 4 years old in kindergarten. So I was a year younger than most of my classmates. By the time I got to my freshman year, I'm smaller. I think I'm like 130 pounds. I'm like 5'5", maybe. Like I'm just smaller, and I'm intimidated. So I don't play football that year. I never played baseball for my high school team. I always played like club or legion or something like that. But I always continued to wrestle. Wrestling was like always my number one sport. My sophomore year was when I got back on the football field, became a wide receiver, a DB. Wrestling and football were my thing. I can't say that I had enough fun, but I didn't do what I wanted to do in wrestling, and I blamed a lot of other people. I blamed a coach that I had as a junior and senior, but ultimately it was me. I let somebody else take my passion for the sport of wrestling away. So that was, one of those things. But then I went on to play football at Wilkes University. Yep. One of the best things I could have ever did, playing for Coach Sheptock. Like you know, I have two brothers and a sister, all of them older. So I'm the youngest of four. But you know, the brother that's closest to me, 8.5 years, also went to Wilkes, played for Coach Sheptock, played for defense, played in the same position, everything. So you know, he's probably, you know, I would say he's my best friend, right? And him and I, we still, when we work out, it's not a lot of words spoken. It's just let's get in there and let's get the work done, right?
Right.
And that's why, like, you know, I can say that going to Wilkes and playing D3, I knew who I was. I
Mm-hmm.
knew I wasn't, despite getting recruited with football and wrestling. And, you know, wrestling, I was getting recruited by Columbia, and I was getting recruited by some, you know, lower level D1
Columbia,
teams.
Ivy
They
League.
just,
So you were a great
yeah.
student. A great student. Ivy League is for the most elite students.
I had some good grades in high school. And the funny thing about it is, even though my degree from Wilkes is in English, I was horrible at English in high school. I was not good at it,
Right.
mostly because it's, you know, English in high school is a little bit more regurgitory. Here's the book. Here's what it's about. Tell us what we told you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for people that know me, I'm a little bit more opinionated. I'm like, that can't be what it's about. I got this thought when I read that, right?
Right.
So, you know, English degree, changed my major 3 times while I was in college. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Business, accounting. Ultimately fell on English because I was getting 4 O's in my English classes, and I was an athlete, and I was like, I know this sports thing. And Stephen A was one of those guys that was doing real big things. I was like, I'm not as opinionated. And then I saw Stuart Scott say, you know, my English classes were where it was at, and I started following Stuart Scott a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's funny. You know, I say Stuart Scott as I'm wearing North Carolina. You know, he's an amazing dude, you know, one of my English role models. And then after that, you know, got out of school, I moved to Myrtle Beach. I started coaching wrestling in South Carolina. And I was just like, man, I'm 22, 23 at this point. I still got the juice, right? I can still compete.
Mm-hmm.
So got a job offer to come back and work for the newspaper here, the Express Times. And I was a sports writer and did MMA and boxing at the same time. And,
Awesome.
you know, from there, the rest is kind of history. And now, you know, standing here talking to you and having some fun.
Awesome. And then, what is the purpose of this podcast?
Purpose of this podcast is to inform student athletes about the path that they're taking. And it's another form of coaching, right? Where you can't, when you're in the gym, you reach the people in the gym. Right now, we're trying to reach everybody. And, you know, as big as Hightower Hoops can be, you can only touch the people that are, you know, in the gym with you doing that work, and then they can pass it on. With this, I want them to hear your words, hear your advice, hear your path, and say, oh, that's something that I read that resonates with me. And so that's why we want to interview athletes about the student part, the athlete part, about going D1, being a professional athlete, not playing sports, being scared, having anxiety, the mental health aspect of it, like, and everything in between, because there's so many high school athletes that are out there that certainly don't know that they can do the right thing and do it for themselves. So many people try and do it for somebody else.
Right.
And they're afraid to be selfish. They don't know what they don't know. You know, as a teenage kid, you're like, oh, I know everything. I'm going to go D1. I'm going to be an all-star. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It's not the path for everyone. And letting, you know, student athletes know that, you know, the path for them isn't going to look like LeBron James. You know what I mean? You're not going to look like that. You're not going to be able to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 18. That's not for everybody. That's the top 1% of 1%.
Right.
So, you know, that's why I want to interview athletes, and why I want to continue to interview athletes, because athletes have a unique perspective, and not one story matches the other. There's not one out there that's identical, but there's a tidbit in there. There's some nuggets in some people's stories that will certainly resonate with, you know, the younger generation that people need to know about.
One thing that I've been thinking about probably for the past like 6 months, it's like you define what's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, as a person, like, for me, like, I define what is cool to me. What is cool to me might not be cool to somebody else. So I might not fit in with that group. But I define what is cool to me. Like, I wanted to be in the NBA. That is cool. So there are other sacrifices I had to make to be cool and
Mm-hmm.
and enjoy doing what I'm doing. So my last question for you, and I'll let you go. I've been talking for an hour, man. Good Lord. Um, Last question for you. You said you had some challenging times when you were 14, freshman year of high school. What advice would you give to your 14-year-old self?
Just go be you. Um, Looking back on it and seeing what I do now with talking with Olympians, NBA coaches, like all the different people, like I got here from being me. My major of English got there because I was just being me. I wasn't trying to go into something that I didn't already know about, right? I was
Mm-hmm.
finessing the skills I already had, and at that point, I didn't know that, I didn't realize that I was as skilled athletically as I felt I was. I had doubt in myself, and you know, doubt's going to creep in no matter how old you are,
For
but
sure.
you always got to stay true to who you are and what you know and just let it flow naturally. If you do that, you keep aging like wine and not like milk. You know what I
For
mean?
sure. I have one more. This is my last one for sure. And I ask everybody, I'm going to start asking everybody who interviews me this question. And who are your top 5 favorite interviews of all time?
Top 5 favorite interviews of all
That
time.
you have conducted. Not that like you've watched, like that you
Mm-hmm.
have conducted.
I have conducted. I have to say, it was a dream of mine to interview my uncle. That was a big deal for me.
Awesome.
I got a chance to interview him, put a video together. I don't even think that it ever really saw the light of day. It was more of like a tester for one of the old websites that I used to work for. But I got a chance to talk to him about his career, so that's definitely number one.
Yeah.
Um, Number two is anytime I've gotten to talk to Jordan Burroughs. Anyone that knows Jordan Burroughs, multiple time Olympic and world champion in wrestling, the man is incredible. I'm glad that him and I are as close as we are now, where we can just, shoot text messages back and forth. Um, he's a wealth of knowledge, an incredible man, incredible father, like incredible athlete, but who he is off the mat, it just resonates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very big deal for me. Um, the third would have to be the first time I got to interview my high school wrestling coach and Coach Dave Kroll, who coaches at Nazareth. Absolutely legendary coach.
Yeah.
I'm mad that he left Wilson when I was going to go into my junior year. He's the man that really made me love wrestling and want to contribute to it after I got out of college as a coach or as a sports writer or anything. Being able to interview him for the newspaper was a big deal for
Mm-hmm.
me. And then getting to interview Kerry McCoy was a huge deal. So Kerry McCoy, Olympian, he's currently the head RTC coach at Lehigh right now.
Okay.
But he's a guy that I looked up to, and world medalist. He's a guy that I looked up to and was able to kind of say, being able to see it matters. And even though I had my uncle and my dad and my brother, like people that were that close, that's all well and good, have that insulated. But seeing somebody who's doing it that you don't even know, right? It's a
Yeah.
big deal. And he was one of the first people that I saw that I didn't know that I'm now friends with as well. That I got to see doing it on that next level. And then I think, man, number 5. I don't know about number 5, honestly. Um, Man, it's like I said, representation matters to me big time, and Kerry McCoy is one of those guys, along with Kenny Monday, who's another world and Olympic wrestler, and Kevin Jackson. Those guys were incredible. So getting to
Mm-hmm.
meet them and interview them was a big deal. But then you know what? Getting to talk to and have a conversation. I can't even say I got a chance to interview him, but getting to talk to and have a conversation with these two people at the same time was incredible for me. And those two people were Joe Frazier and Tony Dorsett. And
Wow.
I got a chance to talk to them talk to them at my uncle's, I believe it was his 70th birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I wasn't a sports writer yet. I was still in college at that point. I was still trying to be a sports writer, and I got to have a conversation with these two absolute elites when it came to sports, but just having a conversation with them, like they weren't these dudes that ran 99 yards, and it wasn't the dude that knocked out Muhammad Ali, right? It was like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just had a chance to have conversations with so many big time athletes that it's had a lasting impact on me. And like I said, it wasn't even an interview. It was more or less just talking with these guys. Even if it was like 5-10 minutes, it just had such a huge impact because they were just such down to earth people.
Awesome. Awesome. No, I appreciate the 5. Impressive. Very impressive 5. But I appreciate it. It's always cool to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you taking some time out. I mean, you got a laundry list of things that you've done, and I'm impressed. I always, anytime you put a tweet out there or a post out there, I'm like, man, like, it's small. I'm a like it. If it's something big, I'm a shoot them a message and be like, man, this is dope.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it takes a village, man, and I'm all for seeing people that I truly care about not just make it out of Easton or anything else, but like just doing big things and being who they are and doing big things, because you haven't changed who you were. It's always been about the work. You still put in the work, and you're just checking things off the bucket list. I'm kind of jealous of the children's book that you're getting to publish, because that's one of my goals as well.
Hey, I love to hear it.
I haven't gotten a chance to get to.
Hey,
but yeah,
we got to hold each other accountable to get it done.
This is true.
We got to hold each other accountable to get it done.
Now I gotta put in the work to get this book done. Now that's really what it is.
For sure.
Man, I appreciate it. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna end the recording. You said you gotta leave. What is it, tomorrow morning? You gotta head back and.
Correct. I'll drive out of Easton to go to Indiana probably about 4:35 a.m. tomorrow.
Well, drive safely. Keep in touch. Like I said, you need anything, you always got me. I'm always down to help out and do anything I can.
Likewise.